All right, heading into the office now. So had my little nap. I'm running a little bit later than I wanted to, and I have to get gas. But I'm not running late because of the nap. I'm just running late because I was like replying to a couple of messages, and then I was like, crap, I really got to get going here. But I also have to get gas, so that doesn't help. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clip out that section once the video is uploaded to YouTube. I don't edit these at all, so I'm not going to dismount the camera and hold it and talk to you while they pump gas. So I'll just clip it out on YouTube, because you can remove stuff on YouTube. You can't add content back in. So I'll do that. But I figured a topic for the drive that would be a good one is around like reaching out for mentorship and help and referrals and that kind of stuff, because this has been happening more and more and more. And I want to preface all of this with like, this conversation is not intended for me to be complaining about it or talking about it like I'm on a pedestal or anything like that. So I want to give you context and then see like try to get you to think about how to navigate this in an effective way. And I'm only one person. This is one perspective, right? So the framing here is people that are looking for jobs, or whether like they're, new to the industry. Like there's a lot of people that are new, they're panicking. They're like, oh crap, like looks like everyone's screwed if they want to be a programmer. What am I going to do? I've had people from like students reaching out, and they're not even, they're past their first year. I've had a couple reach out from where I went to school, which is supposed to be in Canada, like one of the, like one of the best engineering schools. And regardless of your view on, it's the University of Waterloo, regardless of your view on it, they have an internship program. So you leave your 5-year degree program with 2 full years of experience, not 2 internships. You have 6 internships and 2 years of experience. And I've had multiple students from that university reaching out and being like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel like I'm screwed. And I thought it would be good to kind of talk about this because I'm in a position where I'm fortunate. I am employed. I'm at a company that I enjoy working at. I get paid well. Like I have no complaints, right? And it seems kind of unfair to talk about this kind of thing. So that's why I want to say, like, I want to preface all of this, which is not like, oh, like stop reaching out to me, like don't bother me. It's more like, I see, I do see what's happening, and I want to make sure that I can provide some perspective and tips even for like people that are going through like, how do I get referrals, or like, how do I network effectively, that kind of thing. So hopefully that helps. The other part that I want to mention is like, when I talk about myself in this context, I'm going to be making it very clear, like I'm busy. But I don't mean like, hey, I'm too busy for you because I'm better than you. I mean, I'm busy because I fill my plate with too many things to do. So when I have people that reach out and they're like, hey, do this for me, sometimes even if I really wanted to, like I just don't have capacity. It's a personal thing for me where I take on too many things and then things start to fall apart. And I've talked about this in videos before. When I get completely overwhelmed, I have signs, signs that tell me that. And one of the examples that I've shared before is like something as simple as taking vitamins, right? Every morning I go down to where my caffeine is and I make my caffeine drink so that I can wake up. The vitamins are literally on the same shelf as the caffeine and the flavoring that I use. There's no excuse. And I find that when I'm overwhelmed, taking on too many things, like getting burnt out from it, something as simple as just like taking my vitamins, like it becomes like insurmountable. Like I just stop doing it. And I'm sharing this because if you layer on like someone just like out of the blue messaging me being like, hey, like review my resume, not only is it kind of weird, like you wouldn't do that to a random person on the street, but like I genuinely want to help people, and most of the time I'm operating with my plate so full that like I'm dropping other things. So for someone to say, hey, like just review my resume, like I don't have time for it. Not because I'm better or whatever. I don't have time for it because I'm already dropping other things on the ground. So that's what I wanted to clarify. To give you an example, as I'm building out Brand Ghost with some of my peers, the amount of work that I'm putting into coding means that I don't write blog posts anymore. I want to write blog posts. I haven't written them in months, aside from my newsletter. So that's one example of I had to cut something out. That was conscious, but there are other things that drop on the ground. The Audi that's sitting in the driveway was supposed to go for an oil change, but the battery's dead. And it's so dead that it doesn't register on the trickle charger anymore. Like it's had a trickle charger hooked up to it. So now I have to go take it out, and I have this thing that I have to go do and schedule time for it. And like that's one more thing to pile on, and it's going to make other things kind of fall off. Washing this car, my wife is adamant that I don't take care of it. I need to wash it. She's right, I do need to wash it, but like it's one more thing I have to get around to doing. So when people are doing this kind of reach out, I just want you to keep in mind that like, there's people on the other side. You might be looking at the job title or the post or the years of experience or whatever you're looking at, but please just remember there's people on the other side. And like for me, like I keep saying, it's not that I'm busy because I'm better, like I'm too busy for you. I'm too busy for me, and that's already a problem. So that's my kind of rant on that stuff. I'm going to start talking about my thoughts around reach out. The gas station's right here when I make this turn, so I might lose my train of thought. But I want to say that I absolutely, genuinely encourage people to be networking online as early as you're comfortable doing it. I think LinkedIn is a great spot for it. I know some people, depending on what social media platforms you use, like LinkedIn is crap, like it's the people on there suck. People say the same thing about Twitter. I think it's important to be networking, and it's going to look different for everyone. And we have this opportunity to be networking, and I think we should be taking advantage of it. So it's the first thought on networking, but I'm going to have to cut the video here because I don't have gas. Okay, so we're literally living in this time where it's so easy to be networking and people are so accessible. Doesn't mean that anyone you reach out to is automatically going to be like best friends with you or anything like that, but I just mean like you can go online and you can message people, right? You can interact with people. It's pretty cool. So the reason I think people should be taking advantage of networking is because the other sort of strategy, especially from like a, trying to at least land an interview, right, is like a volume approach. And like, if you think about it statistically, I was trying to explain this to someone the other day, like, let's say you want a candidate that are like, so you're a candidate and there's another candidate, you're both literally, you write the same resume, you have the same experiences, everything, right? You're identical in every way. And you apply to 10 jobs per week. And let's say you're applying to the same places and all that, okay? They apply to 10 jobs per week and they apply to 100. They literally have a 10x better chance of landing a job. Doesn't mean like maybe your resume was bad or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to say that automatically theirs moves up. I'm just saying statistically, they're taking more chances. Now, I understand that for some people this starts to feel uncomfortable because you're like, well, I can't think of 100 companies or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be that. Like, it could be job positions at the same company. Like, that's a whole other conversation to kind of go into. But my point is that one way to be trying to get ahead is to be applying more. It's just like a numbers game. So that's one part. And like, if that feels kind of icky to you, like, I get it, because it feels kind of icky to me too. For whatever reason, like a parallel that comes to mind for me is like dating, right? It's like, oh, well, just go, message more girls or more guys, depending on, your interest. But like, that seems like disingenuous, but at the same time, it's like, I have to realize it's not the same as dating. We're talking about people having a career here. So anyway, that's like one of the reasons it feels kind of icky to me, is just because that always pops into my head. It's like, that doesn't feel quite right. But statistically, it's better odds. So I do encourage that people do that. I'm just trying to move that mic down a little bit so I'm not screaming into it. The other side of this, though, is like, so you have this volume game that you're playing, so more and more applications, just statistically better likelihood. What else can you be doing, right? And I'll always be telling people, like, hey, be building projects, be practicing, like that. So that holds true here. That's not the focus here. The focus is going to be networking. Networking is the other thing that you can and should be doing while you're trying to blast out a higher volume of resumes. And I think that people should be doing this. I think you should be networking. The difference, though, or what I would recommend and how I would like to reframe this for people, is that people seem to get the idea of like, okay, let me blast my resume out to more jobs. And that's a quick thing, right? You can go applying for stuff. There's easy apply stuff like on LinkedIn, whatever. Like, there's lots of options to do that in volume, and it's simple. This person in front of me is going below the speed limit in the fast lane because they see other people in the slower lanes braking. I'm gonna get mad. So when it comes to networking, though, I think people still try to look at it through the same lens. Like, well, they said to network, what's the fastest way that I can just network with people? What's the fastest way to do that? And the thing that I want to reframe for you is like, this tactic is, in my opinion, literally the exact opposite approach to blasting your resume out. So instead of saying, okay, someone on the internet told me I better network, I'm going to go start sending out as many connection requests on LinkedIn as I can. I'm going to start spamming people's inboxes with like, hey, please review my resume, or please refer me. Like, in my opinion, this is the exact wrong way to do it. And it's because they are different tactics. You already have a tactic that you're employing that's going to be to blast out your resume to more job applications. That's the volume game. That's the easy one. That's the just go blast it out approach. When it comes to networking, I think you want to be the other way. You want to be a lot more like, what's the word I want to use? Like, refined in your approach. Not that you shouldn't be applying to jobs you don't want to work at, but like, you shouldn't just go pick, as many connection requests as you can and go blast them out just because you're trying to maximize the connections that you can get on LinkedIn. You shouldn't be just trying to send as many messages as you can. You could be sitting here going, well, Nick, I thought you said it's a volume game. And like, sure, the difference is that these require interactions for them to be successful. The volume game for your resume, applying to a job, you've already done the work. You have already done the work. You could argue that you should be tailoring your resume, and that's absolutely possible. Like, depending on what you're applying for, maybe you need to tweak some things to make it stand out more. So certainly, but the amount of effort to be able to just achieve more volume with blasting out a resume, in my opinion, is significantly lower. When it comes to networking, if you take a canned message and DM it to 100 people, I just feel like you're going to have most of those people be like, hell no, like, I don't want to deal with whatever this person's talking about. And instead, if you just like spend time trying to literally build up like a network, communicate with people, engage with people, be genuine with people, you'll find that it's going to be slower, you might not get as many connections on LinkedIn as fast. Like the goal isn't to game that number, because what you're not able to measure on LinkedIn or other platforms is like the meaningfulness of those connections. Okay, so the reason I want to frame this for you is like, let's say someone sends me a message and I've never talked to them before, never engaged with them ever. They've just sent me a message on LinkedIn because I have a premium profile and you can do that. And their message is basically like, hi, here's who I am, and like, can you give me a referral to Microsoft? I've already told you from like personally, like, I just don't have capacity to do that. That's one thing. The other thing is with referrals, I refuse to refer people unless I've worked with them, because I always look at referrals as like my name is associated with that. And if it's a random person, I literally do not know if I feel comfortable with that person. I don't know them. So if we change the example and it's not a referral, it's like, hey, can you review my resume? Okay, like I want to help people. I'm still in that position, like I don't got time. I don't got time for myself. So when I get an opening message like this from someone that I don't know, I'm automatically not interested. Often I just like, I ignore the connection request. I just leave the in message on LinkedIn like unread. Like I don't have time or capacity for it. And you know what? I can tell they're playing the volume game with their reach out. They'll find someone else will do it, right? Like I can sit back and not worry, because someone else will eventually respond to that and whatever. The point is that person actually doesn't care about connecting with me. They don't care, because if they did care, they wouldn't be approaching it that way. If they wanted to connect and engage, they would be trying to have a conversation with me. They'd be curious. They'd be asking questions that weren't, do this for me, right? The takeaway from this little part here is like, when you're framing stuff, if you wouldn't go up to a stranger on the street and just ask them to go do something for you. You could go ask a friend of yours. You could call up a friend and say, hey man, like, could you do this for me? And odds are they will, because they're your friend. But a stranger, depends what the thing is. Like, maybe they won't. So the point is like, without building the relationship, when you start asking for things, it doesn't go so well. It's just not a good approach. This truck, there's no one in front. Why are you like this? It's ridiculous. Okay, one sec, I need some water because I'm starting to die. Oh, there's a car in front of this truck. It's this car holding everyone up. I need two cameras in here, one that I can point forward. What is this fluff on here? Get out. Ugh. Yeah, I need to point a camera forward so you can see how terrible some of these people are driving. It's great. I mean, it's a little bit damp outside, so no one knows how to drive, even though it's Seattle, so I guess there's an excuse. Okay, so I'm telling you all the things that I don't like, right? Like, don't go spamming people, don't use canned messages, don't be asking for something in your first message. And again, the point of that was like, you haven't built up a relationship to be able to ask for things. So I mean this when I say it, that I get a lot of enjoyment out of helping people. So if I can offer advice, if I can review someone's resume, if I like, those interactions make me feel good. So I like doing them. But again, I am busy. I'm too busy for myself. So, like, if I don't know you and you're putting yourself in a position where you're demonstrating to me that, like, you sent this message out to whoever, like, whoever is, like, if I'm reading it, there's probably 99 other people reading it. Like, that just tells me that, like, why should I be putting my time into you if you don't care? So I feel used in that situation, which I don't like to feel used. I don't think many of us do. So what do I suggest, right? Like, how can we turn this around? And there's been a couple of times, like I've talked to 2 students from the University of Waterloo. The last one was yesterday, actually, and they ask for something, but they don't ask for, it's not a referral, it's not review my resume, it's like, hey, like, I can tell it's sent to me, it's not sent to everyone, because they're writing about me, they're writing about something that they read that I've said, or they read about my experience, and they're being curious, right? They're being relatable. They're saying things like, hey, like, I also went to the same school as you, you know, your career journeys look pretty interesting, like going from X to Y, or just calling something out that I know that they were basically reading or engaging with something that I've done, okay? So I immediately know this person wants to talk to me, not they want to talk to anyone who will open their message. Makes a big difference. So I know this person already spent some time trying to make sure that they could talk with me. So that kind of feels good to me. And I know if they've invested some time, that if I were to invest my own time, that I don't feel like I'm being cheated here, right? I don't feel like I'm being taken advantage of. So that's one thing. And the other part that I mentioned is that they're not like, hey, like, you know, I hear something relatable, like we went to the same school, career journey's interesting, can you give me a referral? They're not asking for something that's going to, it's not like a, what's the word? So referral for me is it's a hard no if I don't know you, so that's already kind of ruled out. But the can you review my resume thing, sometimes I might, sometimes, but the reason I don't love that is because I still feel like someone, I don't want to say is taking advantage of me. I feel like they're just trying to get one thing out of me, right? Like, hey, can you review this? And like, see you never. and then it's not networking to me. Like, I want to be able to network. So, and other people will be different about this, right? I'm not trying to say this is the only way, but for a couple of individuals that I thought it's worked really well is that they said, like, I know your time is limited, and they have their own perception of that. Like I said, my times are limited just because I do too many things that I probably shouldn't be doing. But they acknowledge it. They're trying to be conscious of my time, and they've said, would it be okay to have a chat for like 15 minutes? Now, I know, because I do a bunch of interviews and chats, you don't have 15-minute chats. It doesn't happen. Right? A chat is never 15 minutes. Maybe other people are able to kind of get it together in 15 minutes, but I don't think you can talk about a whole lot in 15 minutes to make it meaningful. So I'm generally more open to this kind of thing if my schedule allows it, because if my schedule is already full, it's like, hey, yeah, you can book it, but it's going to be out, and it kind of starts to lose the meaningfulness. But in these cases, I've let them know, like, hey, here's my link. You can go book something. It's slotted for 30 minutes, so I already know like 15 minutes isn't going to cut it. And the reason I like to do this is because if they're willing to go invest more time, right, this is the thing, they're investing more of their time into me because they're going to have a conversation with me. And I don't know if I've just been very fortunate or statistically it's an outlier, but the individuals that I've talked to like this, I told my wife this last night. I'm going to call them kids. It's not really fair. Maybe I'll try. I don't want to call them kids. They're students, right? They're younger. They're very junior, early. They're not even in their career yet. So these students are doing, like, they're going so far above and beyond. It's like, it's nuts in a good way. Like, it's so impressive. And I have no idea if any of them will ever watch this, but statistically, the people I've gotten onto calls like this have been so impressive. And sorry, this part of the highway is really crappy. It's the part where I have to go merge over all the lanes from the fast lane. And what's really neat is when I'm having these conversations with them, so it's a 30-minute conversation, when I'm picking up on all of the stuff they're doing, all the ways that they're investing into themselves to get better, I go, you know, I'm happy that I'm on the call with this person. Like, this is a kind of person who, they work hard, they do things, they're putting a lot of effort in. They're not here to mess around. They're not here to just like, you know, what's the shortcut? They're here because they're trying to genuinely, you know, invest in themselves. And when I say that, I don't mean to imply that other people that are doing like the shotgun blast approach to just go send stuff out everywhere, like they don't care. But like, to give you an example, like these people that I've been talking with, they'll be talking about like the extracurricular stuff they're doing is like helping startup companies or doing hackathons. Like, they're filling all of their time with just stuff that will hopefully align with like software engineering and help them get ahead, and they're interested in it. So for me, I look at that and I'm like, cool. Like, now I feel like the tables turn, and I want to be honest about this, right? Like, they were coming to me because they wanted help. They wanted help with something, and I get it. That's fine. So I'm kind of in the like position of power, like, okay, let me impart some wisdom and whatever. But when they start to demonstrate to me all these awesome things they're doing, it turns the tables for me, because I start to look at it like, wow, this person, I know, like, this person's going to be so successful in their career. I can already tell if they're doing all this stuff and they keep it up, they will be so successful. And I look at it like, I can't wait to be a small part of this person's journey. So the dynamic changes where now I'm interested, where I'm like, hell yeah, like, this person's got it, cool. Like, I might be this far ahead of my career only because I've been in my career for for over a decade longer than them. Like, that's just like, it's a time thing. And I'm looking at where they're at and I'm going, man, they're going to excel for sure. And like I said, I want to be part of that. So like, even yesterday, the 15-minute phone call turned into an hour and 15 minutes, right? Because, you know, if they have questions, they want to keep going and it's helpful, like, hell yeah. Now, those phone calls also offer me the opportunity where if I get onto that call, if I feel like I'm being taken advantage of or whatever, or, you know, they're not getting the value out of it, then I can end it, you know, at the 15 to 30 minute mark, whatever it happens to be. Like, you only had a couple questions, cool. If I don't see a lot coming out of it, cool. But you got what you wanted, okay. Like, no, you know, whatever. Happy to help. Glad it helped. Move on, get my time back. But yeah, like, statistically, the way these calls have gone has been quite the opposite. Where I'm hanging around the call for way over double the time. So I guess the recommendation that I have here is like, I think that I value the relationship building a lot more than just being able to have someone send me a PDF and I go, okay, here's my critique, right? Because then what? Like, I'm glad I helped you. It's just my opinion, right? I'm not the dictator of resumes. It's just an opinion, and you can go get that opinion from a bunch of different people. But if we can actually, you know, connect and we can build a lasting relationship, like, to me, that's way more interesting. I'm more interested in that kind of opportunity, selfishly, because I feel good about that. So there are at least two people, that's what I'll say. There are at least two people that I've been on calls like this where they've asked me at the end of the call, do you think that we could do this again? Like, could I schedule more time with you? And I have said to at least two people, like, yes, please do. And you know, one of the guys that I first started doing this with sends me updates periodically about the stuff that he's working on, and it's awesome. It's like, it's so impressive. And now, like, because of our interactions, because he didn't just reach out and shotgun blast his generic canned approach, now we get to have like this cool working relationship. I don't know if it's like a mentorship, maybe it is, where, you know, I can see what he's up to, he can ask for advice, and I know that he's like invested in keeping that going. So that's just been my experience, but I recommend that you don't frame your reach out as in, like, I need something from you. In this case, both of these individuals needed time from me. They did ask for time, so that kind of goes against what I'm saying. But if you're hesitant about this kind of thing, I would say just start with being curious. Ask people questions about the stuff they're writing online or their experience. Be genuinely curious. You don't have to get them to review your resume or take you on as a mentee in your first message, right? Like, you could be, and you should be, doing this over days, weeks, months, and just building genuine relationships. I think that you'll have a much better success rate doing that kind of thing on the relationship building side, your reach out side. And if you balance that with the higher volume in applications, you kind of are attacking it on two different fronts. Now, to kind of go back and compare these things, the application blasting, that's kind of like a temporary thing, right? Like, you're only doing that while you're searching for your job. The networking part is something that can be, like, can and probably should be going on for forever, right? You don't just do it and then you land your job and you're like, oh, guess I never have to talk to these people again. I mean, if that's how you feel about it, it's probably not like a good like a good relationship. Like, why wouldn't you want to find people in the industry that you're like excited to go talk to? Maybe there's a future opportunity where they have openings at their company, or you can work together on something. Like, why wouldn't you keep these things going, right? So I think they serve different purposes. They have a different time horizon, a different level of investment. Both can, and I would say should, be used for applying to jobs. So for me, even, like, I'm not looking for a job, but I have a network of people now that if I found myself in that position, I at least would have a place to start, right? I wouldn't have to go, oh, I guess I have to go make a LinkedIn account. Like, no, I have a bunch of people that I'm connected with that I could go start talking to. And it's nothing to do with the fact that I'm a creator. Before I was creating content, I had my LinkedIn account for this kind of thing. So it's like no excuse, right? You can be doing this. But it goes, yeah, the connection building in your network, that is a much longer time horizon than just your current job search. That's what I wanted to kind of add in here. I'm going to park in this spot. Oh yeah, it's a good spot. It's my favorite spot, I think, in the whole garage. This is the spot I parked in the other day, and you can't see how I'm backing into this spot, but I am over the edge of this spot, okay, on purpose. And I'm doing this because now when I open my door, it's a coupe door, it's long. When I open it, I'm not going to hit anything. There's no one parked beside me too. But when someone inevitably parks beside me, there's space, because they're going to park between the lines. Unless they were the last person that just decided they will park well over the line. I can't make this stuff up. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, to work. And I will see you on the drive home. Take care.